Ron Brown with Tech for Senior. 5 things you must do before Google enables two-factor authentication. Let's have a look. Two-factor authentication was developed by Google in 2010. Since that time, I've taught many courses on it and helped a lot of people initiate and get two-factor authentication initiated and set up. Despite the ironclad protection it gives your account, there's still only 10 to 20% of people that have really adopted this technology. So Google said, that's it. It's going to be mandatory. And the change has already started. So two-factor authentication will be required for your Google account. What has happened in the last couple of months? Well, those of you who are YouTube creators, in other words, if you've uploaded a video to your YouTube channel, then you will be classified as a creator, and you must have two-factor authentication turned on in October, a couple of months ago. So that has happened to those people, and Google now is moving into the next phase where it's auto-enrolling 150 million people into two-factor authentication. So it is extremely important that you watch this video, because the 5 things you need to do before they do this are so important. Because if it gets mixed up, you are going to have to phone Google, and nobody wants to do that. So be sure and watch this video. I will have a second video coming out next week that will explain the 4 phases of two-factor authentication and the changes that have occurred. So if you do teach two-factor authentication, there are some changes that are occurring with this auto rollout, and I'll explain those in the second video next week. So let's have a look and see what you need to do. You remember the like and subscribe routine. If you like this video, please click the like, and we'd sure appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel. It really helps us make videos like this. Let's get on with the show. Now let me just clarify. What we're talking about today is two-factor authentication. And from this list, you'll see that I have two-factor authentication enabled on all these accounts: Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, LastPass, PayPal, GoDaddy, Twitter, and MailChimp. All these are protected because two-factor authentication is turned on. What I'm talking about today is Google. Google is making you turn on two-factor authentication for protection. This is what the 5 things you need to do to make sure that this process occurs smoothly. Tip number 1 is do not share an email address. In my 10 years of working at Silvercom CTC, a computer club at Mesa, I found that about 20% of people had a shared email address, such as marthaandjohn@gmail.com. This does not work well for two-factor authentication. Part of the problem with that is that your email address in most cases is the name on your Google account. It is actually your Google account. So you're not just sharing an email address, but you're sharing a Google account, and this does not work. It will become apparent how this turns out in the next video. Now in Martha's case, I would recommend Martha, if she wants to, she could continue using the name marthaandjohn@gmail.com, but John should have his own Gmail account. Now he probably has an Android phone, and if he does, he actually will have an email account and a Google account with that name on it. Tip number 2, you will require your own cell phone. Two-factor authentication is going to work by sending what we call a push notification to your cell phone to authorize entrance into your account. If your wife has the cell phone uptown, then you're not going to be getting into your Google account. So each member of the family is going to require a cell phone. Tip number 3, you will need to know what your Google account is and password. Now this may seem very obvious, but associated with your Android cell phone is a Google account, and you need to know what Google account was used to set up that phone. You can find that in the settings. Otherwise, when you get your push notification to log into your Google account, it won't be going to the right account. So you'll need to know what your Google account is and password. Now, in most cases, this is your Gmail address and password. If you're using an iPhone, the process is just a bit different. You will need to know what your Apple ID is and password. If you don't, oh my gosh, go down to the Apple Store and see if you can get that sorted out. Once you do, you will, if you use any Google products on your iPhone, such as Chrome or Gmail, then you will be required to log into your account and you will get a notification on your iPhone, very similar as it is on Android. The two-factor authentication has been built into Safari for a number of years now. Now, tip number 4, you will be required to receive an SMS text message. Whoa, what's all that about? Most of you are probably receiving texts on your phone through messaging apps, such as WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger. There's over 100 apps that will send you a text to your phone. This is not what we use in two-factor authentication. We use what we call SMS texting, which is through the cell phone company you're dealing with. This is where the SMS text will come through your cell phone provider, and it actually lands in the same place the messaging apps are on your phone, so it looks pretty much the same. But it does come from your cell phone provider through a separate service. And the example I've given you is an old cell phone. We had SMS text messaging before internet was discovered or invented or created. So this is a very secure method by which you can receive text, and this is how you'll be getting the notification on your cell phone for two-factor authentication. Now, I don't think this should be a hardship on you, as that almost all cell phone plans I've ever seen allow you to receive a SMS text message. You won't need to send the message, you just need to receive it. So you should be okay with this one. Tip number 5 is please keep your cell phone number. Now, this is going to be a big change for snowbirds going south, because I know if you're Canadian and you head south, you're all going and getting a consumer cellular SIM card and getting a US number while you're in Mesa, Arizona, enjoying the sun. This is a very bad idea and will not work with two-factor authentication. I've given lots of courses on travel around the world and how purchasing local SIM cards can be a great way to get cheap internet. Well, unfortunately, this just isn't going to work anymore because your two-factor authentication is tied to your phone number. So you must keep that phone number. Do not swap out another SIM card while you're traveling. You won't be able to get into your Google account. Well, this week, if you notice something new, like when you go to log into your Google account, your phone buzzes, and there's a notification there saying, "Is this really you?" You'll know then that Google has turned on two-factor authentication for your account. You should be fine if you follow these steps. I'll have a complete video on this for our next week's show, and I'll link it in the link below here as well. I think most of you will find this an easy transition. I'm happy Google is doing this. I think this is going to offer extra security and protection for you. So until we see you again next week, it's Ron Brown with Tech for Senior. Bye now.